we'll just get started while they get everything up on the screen, but thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk through Pacific National's new process of managing repairable inventory and how in the first year of implementing the process, we're on track to recover nearly $500,000 from it. So first up, I wanted to introduce one of the masterminds behind it all, Deb Price. So with 3 decades of experience in the rail industry, she's worked for Queensland Rail, Horizon and Pacific National. Deb Price is the manager of the maintenance systems, standards and supply team. Over those years in the rail industry, Deb's been exploring the maintenance systems along the way. She's worked with FWMS, SAP, and currently she's on a 13-year stint with Maximo. And somehow, through all those years, through all the rollouts, the implementations, the enhancements, she's managed to keep her sense of humour and her sanity, so that's important.
Yeah, I think it's thanks to my hair dye, that's really helped as well.
5 years ago, Deb started a new challenge as manager of the maintenance systems and standards supply team at Pacific National. It was a brand new role, and in total Deb style, she just jumped straight in, and she's since referred to it as one of her career highlights. It's a diverse team, a cross-functional team, and through Deb's excellent leadership, she's proven that collaboration really can move mountains, or in our case, keep trains on time. So.
It's clicking through here, but it's not up there.
I'll get someone, but I think till then you can just use the arrows here.
Yep, it's just not displaying there though.
Oh.
Well,
wouldn't be a tech conference if you didn't have tech issues, would it?
While that's being figured out, now let me talk about Jess. Jess is a maintenance systems specialist with Pacific National. Jess actually began in rail in 2008, where she started with Horizon, where she did some administration and network planner roles. In 2014, we were actually lucky enough to have her come over to Pacific National. She actually came over to do a role was around the BMA rail contract. And then in 2018, I think it was, I somehow coerced her to come over to the Maximo team. So, and that was great for me.
Did you regret it?
Not yet.
Good job, I drank.
And one of the things about Jess is that she's very sharp, very logical, and very determined. So it was great having her part of the team. Jess was also involved in the Maximo 7.6 upgrade that we did in 2019, where she was instrumental in the training that we delivered across the board to all of our maintainers, store people, engineers, everyone across the business. And if I ask Jess why she loves PN, you'll hear her talk about the team spirit, the work-life balance, and the thrill of a role that is as broad as her name suggests. And when it comes to Maximo, she values flexibility and simplicity because greater tools should make life easier, not harder. But to her credit, she also finds time for championing inclusion and diversity in the organisation as well. So please welcome Jess Broad to the stage, which you're already know. So before we get this train moving at full speed, let's talk a little about Pacific National. Sometimes I may also refer to it as PN as well, because it's a little easier to say. But as you can see from the screen, PN operates 24/7, 365 days a year. At 70 plus locations, we have over 3,000 people, so it's quite a large organisation with a large customer base situated across Australia. We transport a variety of mix of general freight, cargo, import and export goods and bulk commodities. And we also have a range of customers in a diverse range of industries as well. But let us now focus on the topic at hand, which is inventory. In rail, managing inventory isn't just a task, it's actually a mission. Today we are going to explore how PN actually successfully implemented a new inventory repair process. Thanks, Jess.
So we wouldn't be a presentation if we didn't start with some numbers, and I think it's important to get the scope of what we're talking about. So at Pacific National, we've got over 12,000 wagons that are travelling to 30 maintenance depots, and they are across Australia. Those wagons are using over 3,000 different types of items to repair them, and those items are coming out of 132 different storerooms. So you can imagine with those kind of numbers, we need some really robust inventory processes to manage that. At Pacific National, we actually have 3 types of inventory. Single-use inventory is inventory that can't be reused or repaired. So that's inventory that you're going to throw away once it's had its lifespan run out. We've got examples there, brake blocks, gaskets, those kind of things on a wagon. The next one is rotable. A rotable asset is a serialised and tracked asset. And examples there, we have our wheels and our bogies. The third type, and the one we're introducing you today probably, is a repairable inventory item. So that's an item that can be overhauled or repaired, but you don't want to serialise it and create an asset because it might not be high dollar value, or you might just have too many of them to want to actually track through the system like that. So our examples for today, we've got brake valves and slack adjusters that fall into that category. Now, single use and rotable, we had really great processes embedded at Pacific National. Where we saw the big gap was our repairable inventory. This is a little video that showed what our previous repairable inventory process was.
Yep.
And we'll talk through some of the problems that you can probably imagine with that process.
Yeah. So the problem that we had, so when we first started talking about that issue, we were looking at, well, what is the problem? And if I get Jess to show a couple of things on the screen, the first one was we were unable to identify repairable parts. So a maintainer was not able to look at a wagon and know which part was repairable or not repairable. There are exceptions. They always know things like bogies and wheel sets are repairable or overhauled, but there's some other minor components that they really just don't have the visibility. And as Jess showed earlier, we have a lot of items to consider. And when you consider in our intermodal business, where you have over 100 classes of wagons, there's a lot of variables attached to all of that. So they really didn't know what was a repairable item. The next one on the screen is, and I mentioned this, wagon maintainers were throwing away the repairable parts as well. Because they didn't know, they were just chucking them in the bin. So that isn't a great scenario for us. The next one was that items were sent away for repair with no traceability. So we actually didn't know what was being sent away, which was a real problem for us and a real gap. The next one was that we actually had to purchase new parts because we'd actually disposed of them and we actually shouldn't have. So again, that was a problem. And then the last one here is no ability to track warranty periods or claims, which was another real issue for us. Which then comes to the repairable solution. So we understood what the problem was and what we were trying to solve, and then we need to understand, well, what does the solution look like? In order to arrive at what the solution was, we needed to go through multiple steps. We had to clearly define what the problem was, which we just spoke about. We had to clearly define what a process looked like, and that involved engaging with multiple stakeholders throughout our business. We have quite a large user base in Maximo, so that was a concerted effort across the board. We had to work closely with those stakeholders to make sure they agreed on the process, to make sure it was a workable solution, and if there was a process change, they needed to agree with that process change. And then we engaged with our contractor, who is COSOL. So COSOL assisted us with this change and through the process. And I think all in all, what it has done for us is it's delivered a centralised repair management process.
So what we'll do now is we'll actually talk you through what that process looks like at a high level. We've got 4 main locations that we're going to talk through. We've got the wagon maintenance depots where they're doing their repairs, the PN repair storerooms, the vendor repair store, and the PN storerooms. So the entire process kicks off with a maintainer removing a repairable item from a wagon. So they're doing a repair on a wagon, and when they issue out a repairable item in Maximo, it actually flags to tell them that it's a repairable item that they're handling, and it will also flag if there's a warranty condition on that item as well. So they don't have to do anything extra, it just flags automatically for them. When they issue a repairable item on a work order, it automatically will immediately after that add another transaction, another material line on that work order to return a repairable item to the PN repair store. So an unserviceable item now sits, the quantity's gone up by 1 in our PN repair store, and 1 has gone onto the wagon itself. And that is all handled by a work order in Maximo. So that's all automated.
Jess, should we just point out to the group as well, we have a mobile solution, an in-house mobile solution that we use. So not only do they see that information displayed within Maximo, we display it in the mobile application as well. So when they're physically doing the work, they see a message and they instantly know as well.
And that's because there's an asset number on there and an asset.
So our inventory, there are no asset numbers linked to this repairable inventory. They're just inventory items that are booked out of storerooms. But the inventory items themselves are either flagged as repairable or not, and that's managed by the inventory, the supply team, in our inventory master data. And if it's flagged as a repairable, then it will follow this process. If it's not flagged as a repairable, it's just issued to a work order and that's it, nothing happens. Once a repairable item is in a PN repair store, we have a PN repair store associated with every single PN inventory storeroom. So what that does is it automatically knows where to put that item. So our supply team know where that item is located. As I mentioned earlier, we don't have a supply officer at every single depot, every single storeroom. So they need to know remotely where are these items sitting so we can organise to create a purchase order to then send that to the appropriate vendor repair store. So an unserviceable item is transferred and that's done via a purchase order. Once it's in the vendor repair store, they're obviously able to do their required work on those items. They will then ship those back and that's handled by a PO receipt, and that then is when it's a serviceable item, so the condition code is now serviceable. And when we receipt that, as soon as we've actually done the receipt in Maximo, it is then transferred back into our PN inventory store where maintainers can book it out again.
What are you doing about the cost of the inventory? Like, if you're issuing it out to a work order, then you're costing it to the work order. Once it's going back into your repair store, is it coming in at zero cost? And then when you receipt it in, is it going in at zero cost? Like, do you know how that's different?
So it's going into the cost of where it gets really tricky, and that was a lot of work that we did with COSOL. If I can talk to you afterwards, because I don't want to say the wrong way, but there is some complexity to that in the way that it transfers in and out of the storerooms. There's added complexity. We have an integration with the financial system in Pacific National, so we have some added complexity there to ensure that the right transactions are showing up in their system, even though we're doing these multiple moves. They don't want to see those moves because they're not true costs. The cost is on the purchase order. So ultimately, when it's booked out to a wagon, there's a cost, but the repair cost is handled via the purchase order and the receipt. And that's just throwing the last step where maintainers can issue that part back out to a wagon. In order to manage that entire process, we knew that we wanted a really streamlined way to do it. We wanted to make it really easy for our supply team to manage this in a single application. And that was a really complex challenge that COSOL stepped up to and delivered us a solution. So this application here, and this is a screenshot, but honestly it goes on quite a bit. We weren't able to fit it all on the screen here to show you every single column that we have there, but we've called out some of the really important ones. We are able to see every single item that's in a PN repair store or at a vendor repair store in this application, and then they can filter down if they want to see it in a specific storeroom, if they want to see a specific vendor, if they want to see a specific purchase order. All of that information is visible here, so they've got visibility straight away. And then they can actually carry out actions here as well. So over on the in the actions menu, we've got create purchase order. So as I mentioned, once an inventory item is in a repair store, the supply officers can create purchase orders to get those transferred over, and they can do that all from this app. They've also got the ability to scrap an item, so we might be notified by a vendor that an item isn't actually repairable anymore. It's reached the end of its life cycle and then it needs to be scrapped, so they can do that in this application as well. We've got receive repair items, so even your receipting you can do in this application. And the last one there is void receipts. We all know that people make mistakes. Sometimes the vendors might actually advise us of something and then change their minds. So we've got the ability to actually void that receipt and correct anything that needs to happen. So our supply officers can one-stop shop, do what they need to do in here. Did you want to add anything onto that screen?
The lady's got a
Oh, sorry.
Did you clone a specific app to get this, or?
No cloning, I don't believe, unless Kosa want to say anything, but it was from, yeah, there was just too much that we were asking for. So as far as I'm aware, it was from scratch.
Did anyone have any questions just while we're on that screen? Sorry, Jess.
I'll do one.
Yeah.
So since your spare parts are not serialized, right, when you send a valve or whatever to the vendor, how do you make sure you get your own valve back to the home? Do you mark your asset, or?
It's a good question.
They have a tag out process at the moment. So the maintainers tag it out when they take it off originally. All of that tagging information goes to the repairer as well. And then there's a process of then validating that at the repairer. So our supply team know that they are getting back the right part or the correct amount of parts as well.
So my question is regarding in your first slide about the cycle of the repairs. In the first step, you said because your inventory has flagged to know this is repairable. Does it mean the technician needs to take this part back to the warehouse? Somehow you have a system to scan to know it's repairable, or does this?
So there's two different ways that our maintainers use Maximo. One is on a desktop computer, and some of our sites have those in the workshop on a wagon maintenance road. They may have a computer system there that they can use. Deb mentioned before, we also have a mobile solution, an in-house mobile solution, so they can actually be standing in front of a wagon and they can issue parts to a work order while they're hands-on, basically. Once it's flagged as a repairable, it will tell them that it's a repairable. They need to, there's a tagging procedure that Pacific National has. That doesn't involve necessarily physically going back to a storeroom. A lot of them have bins or trolleys where they keep their repairables and then they'll, in bulk take them back or something like that. But most of our maintainers are using our mobile solution because it's the easiest thing for them and it's right there while they're using it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For that one. So is it the issue transaction on the work order that's triggering the repairable?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's not until you issue a new part to
Yep.
a repair part to an existing asset.
Yep. Yeah.
A condition code is being used when it's going back to the repair store on the return transaction.
We do know whether it's serviceable, unserviceable. Yeah, there's some automation.
Condition code, is it,
Do we use condition code?
Yes.
Yeah.
so that's
Yep.
impacting the cost then as well.
Yep.
And we have a condition code for unserviceable and we have a condition code for warranty. So that's how, when it's going to, that's another automation where the supply team, maintainers, nobody has to know that they changed it out 2 months ago. The system goes, oh, that part on that wagon was only changed 2 months ago, so I'm going to make it a condition of warranty, and it goes to the vendor as warranty. The vendor may come back and say, outside warranty, but everything's automated in that first step. Yep.
When it comes back in, who does the receipt, and is there a quality process for quality checking the parts? And also, third part of the question, when it goes back into stock, is it showing that it's a
Sorry, three-parter, let's go. So the supply team do the majority of the receipts, because although they're not at every single site, they are at the biggest and the sites with the most volume. And then the sites that don't have that, there'll be the maintenance teams there that will receive items in. In terms of quality control, that's something that's managed by the supply team. That's still something. Deb, do you want to talk to the quality control around receiving? I mean, that's across the board.
There's certainly some manual validation that occurs by the supply team in general to make sure it doesn't match up. It's not a particularly automated process. It is still quite manual at the moment. Yeah.
And I think I forgot the third part, sorry.
The last piece was once it goes back in stock, is it flagged as repaired or listed new? So you know that it's actually
Yeah.
repaired, right?
Yes, because, and well, yes and no. We can see the quantity that's been repaired, but because that's not an individual asset, we don't know. There are some items which apparently, and I've been told by wagon maintainers and the light and supply officers, you can visually tell if it's been overhauled or not, but there's some items that you wouldn't visibly know, and therefore we don't have that individual asset tracking. We might have to just keep going because I think we're
running out of time.
Yeah, yep.
So have a look at the screen, and Jess is going to show you some information. So there's some exciting inventory numbers up there and projections. So we're estimating that we're going to save over $200,000 reclaiming warranty that in the past we weren't able to claim. That's because we didn't have any valid information to back up our claim, basically. So, and as well, we estimate that we will reduce our OPEX spend by about $250,000 as well. So that's projected at this stage. We only implemented it early in the year, but it's certainly showing some substantial benefits to date. Before I wrap up, I would like to encourage you to read The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. It is a simple but powerful self-management technique designed to help you take action and break the habit of hesitation. Here's what it means. The core idea is when you have an instinct to act on a goal or make a change, you must physically move within 5 seconds or your brain will kill the idea. Why it works? Mel Robbins explains that our brains are wired to protect us from discomfort and risk. So when we hesitate, even for a few seconds, our mind starts talking us out of taking action. The 5-second rule interrupts that pattern. Thank you for letting us share our story, but I encourage you all to think about the 5-second rule and take action. What's your next Maximo change? Thank you.
You want to play that?
There's actually more time, so we're not opening. I think people have already asked questions as well. So
Are there more questions? Did anyone?
I think everyone wants a drink by the looks of it.
but yeah, thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you. Thanks.